Every day I think people can't get any dumber, and somehow every day I am just seemingly proven wrong. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Azriel, the one coming at you from the Lone of the Lost Towers. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Now, a few things before I get started, and I do have to apologize because I've gotten away from this habit, so I'm going to start bringing that back. I want to thank each and every one of you who take their time out of their morning to enjoy this podcast, if you will. I don't mean to borrow Obsidian's term, but that's exactly what this is. I thank you guys for tuning in. If you like what you hear and you want more of this kind of content, I ask that you leave a like, a comment, and you share this video. It is definitely appreciated. Secondly, I was supposed to put this video out yesterday, as I advertised on the Angry Man channel. For those people who don't know who the Angry Man is, that's my boy Valdez. I'm definitely going to, do, the promo and the plug for him on this channel. You definitely need to check that man out. I'm going to put the information in the description bar. And of course, you can tune into his Blog Talk Radio show every Sunday at 3 p.m. on Blog Talk Radio. I will definitely put that out for you. Now, on to the subject matter of today's video, and I need to make this disclaimer before I get started. This video will be using someone else's original source material. However, I do not claim the original source material as my own material. However, in use of that material, it will be transformative in nature, and the resultant product of that material is now mine, in accordance with fair use guidelines under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Therefore, I will give all source accreditation to the original owner of the video and the channel link to which you can find this. That being said, as I previously opened this video, you think people can't get any dumber, and every day you're proven wrong. And such is the case when we come across Ms. Christelyn Karazin. Now, I know this woman has been getting ran through the mud for the last couple of weeks, to some comedic effect for me, and a little bit of pity too. And for some people, you're going to consider this just being low-hanging fruit. But somehow, when you've been on the shelf for a while and you need to get off the shelf, you got to sharpen your razors somewhere. And maybe because she generally is asking the question or is trying to raise a point about something, whatever it is she's trying to raise a point about doesn't seem to make much sense, as you're going to see in this video. But I thought it not robbery that I respond to it. So, without further ado, gods of the Titantron, please roll the footage.
Okay, so there was an article that I wrote in 2013 that has made its way through the social media rumor mill. Not because there's any truth to it, not because people have actually listened or read what I said, but because people read the title of the article that I wrote and assumed that I was saying Black women should stop giving birth to Black male children.
Well, given the fact, Ms. Karazin, so far, and good morning, you have a very interesting way of handling things. You see, from what I understand, your track record has been more or less dogging Black men out, and then ironically, you expect them to come to your rescue. Now, I'll be very charitable and say that you're probably going to read this letter to us to give us some proper context, and I'm going to probably be fair to you and say that you were mistaken. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to disagree with what you're about to say in the article you wrote. But I digress.
In this letter, my use of you means you, me, and all of us. This letter, sister, is from someone who is sitting, not so quietly observing and taking notes as I look upon angry Black men all over the internet making videos and blog posts about how ugly you are. How unworthy you are of love, how disgusting you look in your hairstyles and clothes, how no man in his right mind could stand to tolerate you more than one night, and it better be in the dark with a bag over your head.
What is this? Like, really? Look, I came forward expecting a logical piece in where you would discuss the legitimate issues of black men and black women in this dynamic of men hating the women right off the top. And what do I get for my troubles? For being so charitable? For honestly believing you would approach this honestly? I get this sloppy fucking intro. Jesus. What, ugh, what a pain. You got to be fucking kidding me. Who the fuck says this? Where are your citations? Where is your screen caps? Oh my god. Do I have to do the work fucking for you? Oh god. For someone so fucking educated, you really don't believe in evidence, do you?
These men are the babies you birthed, the boys you loved and spoiled, the young men you wrangled with, who grew up with you at the helm of the household, mostly without their fathers. And they hate you for it. The chickens have come home to roost as the wave of "I can be both mother and father to my son" has reached its peak.
Oh, you are so correct, but for the reasons other than what you've stated here, or what you will state. See, the thing is, black women, listen up. What Ms. Karazin is not telling you is that when black women raise their sons without fathers, without positive, strong male influences, she is in turn fucked you. So, what I'm saying in so many words is that when a mother has fucked up her son by denying him a masculine energy to bring balance and harmony to him and to shape and mold him into being a man, she in turn has now saddled you with her failure. And of course, to quote Sister Shahrazad Ali, these boys grow up weak, effeminate, bitchy, and indecisive. And of course, this naturally lends itself to you taking the role of a masculine energy. So now you are saddled with an adult child because another woman has failed to do her due diligence to pick a responsible male by which she can conceive and produce and bring forth life. And see, what Ms. Karazin is also failing to tell you is because generally you didn't have a father either. You lack the understanding of what a real man is. And because you lack that understanding, you will choose to find love however you can, thus perpetuating the cycle of dysfunction and ignorance. But what does Ms. Karazin will do? Well, we'll see in a second, won't we?
It's the results we'll continue to see as 80% of Black women of all social and economic media strata are having their first children unmarried and unprotected. They hate you because you are there. They hate you because you're the one who stayed and struggled, no doubt made some mistakes along the way. Hey, we all do. And found yourselves impotent and incompetent in all things man related, an essential and necessary factor for boys to grow into men. The husband you married when he was 15 was probably too late to truly make a difference. And even if he did, your son will always have a hole in his heart for the father who never was. But because you were there and shielded him from death and starvation, gave him comfort and kisses, he can't show his anger towards you. You will always be highly esteemed. He'll praise and sing odes of mama and beat anyone to a pulp if they say anything against you. So what does your son do with all that anger? He takes it out on every single woman that looks like you.
You, I swear you can't make this up. I swear to God, you could not find a more indefensible argument than this. Why? This is low-hanging fruit. Come on, are you going to make it this easy for me? Ooh, let me catch my breath. Let me catch my breath. So let me get this straight. Your whole argument is he's taking this out on other women because he hates his mother. Look, aside from the fact that that is about the most indefensible argument, it's not even an argument, it's a non-argument to begin with. That's number one. And number two, last I checked, most dudes generally aren't trying to fuck their mothers. Now, most people, when you look at mating across the board in the human race, we tend to base our picks on our parents. For women, women choose to date men who are like their fathers. And men choose to choose women who are like the women who are married or involved with their fathers. So, I'm not seeing the link here, Ms. Karazin, but I will say this as a card-carrying male. Generally, the reason why black women get attacked has much to do with them and their personality, or lack thereof. Most of these women are entitled, self-centered, narcissistic, psychotic, mentally deficient. They have poor conversational skills, and they believe on the basis of having tits, ass, and a fat puss that they should just get because. When in reality, these women generally are mediocre at best. Most of them, if they make any level of success, have no concept to understand that what a man makes and what he has attained for himself has very little to do on establishing a successful relationship. Most of them have this I don't need a man attitude, but get upset when they feel that they're not being protected by the men they feel they should. In other words, many of you sisters are just fucking walking contradictions. Most men today, in general, but black men in particular, who are becoming hip to the game, do not want to put up with a woman who feels she should get everything based on the fact that she is a female. Let's be real. As a man, if I were a divorced man today as a father of two, I understand that I am damaged goods, even though for the fact that I have two children by two different women, and I maintain my family structure as best I can, I recognize I'm not entitled to the woman who has no children, a good career, who I have a lot in common with. Now, of course, as a man, women tend to make exceptions to their rules and their policies. Most do, but some don't. But when we look at the inverse and men tend to have a standard, most of you women who swear you have it all really don't. Let's be real. Most of you are not hotties. And even if we were to say lower our standards for the sake of trying to get laid, let's keep this in mind. Most of you, or I won't say most of you, but a growing population of black women, according to CDC data, are accounting for 50% new cases of STIs, most notably HIV and herpes. We notice that you make poor decisions because you have 3 or 4 different kids by 3 or 4 different men, none of which you had a serious committed relationship with. The majority of you sink your money into catfishing, which means you buy things to enhance your appearance for things you don't really naturally have. Some of you are obese. A lot of you have shitty attitudes. When you couple all of the things that you're going to get in today's black woman, is it no doubt in any man's mind, in general, but black men in particular, why he is now speaking up about what he wants and being vocal about it? Not a lot of men are, but a growing population are. And you think it's because it has much to do with his mother. Now, you're going off the fact that, of course, the low class ghetto ass Negro, he's going to defend his mama no matter what, because that's what she's indoctrinated him to do. But the average brother who is awakened, he is generally going to realize that if he calls out the black female fuckery and the available dating pool, and he sees it in his mother, he will be cognitively dissonant of him to call out these females but not call out his mother. But of course, you won't acknowledge that that's a possibility here, Ms. Karazin, and that is why many people, or a growing population of people, myself included, will never take you seriously. As it so happens, the reality of the situation is not that his mother is the cause of his frustration and therefore his blame is misplaced. The two things, while not mutually exclusive, generally in general terms, in this particular circumstance you're bringing up, it really doesn't have nothing. It has nothing to do with his mother. Now, if we could say, and let's be charitable here, and let's just say for the sake of argument it does, then it would mean that the women that the man is choosing has much to do with his mother, and because of which he has his gripe. So naturally, when he becomes aware that his mother has been the central focal point of his problems, he eventually, if he's wise, he will address it. And let me go on to say this. Women, you need to understand something. When you encounter a man like the one Ms. Christelyn Karazin is describing, you have to blame his mother. Because his mother has fucked this child up horribly. To quote Sister Shahrazad Ali, most of these boys who grow up without fathers are weak, effeminate, bitchy, and indecisive. And of course, because you yourself cannot naturally relay yourself, or excuse me, not relay, consign yourself to your natural feminine role, you now have to be more than what you were intended to be. And of course, when you yourself have had no father, you will naturally seek love anywhere you find it. So either which way, the woman that birthed this man and birthed you are responsible for the dysfunction that you have in your life, and because of which you will now become responsible for the dysfunction in the lives of your children. Do you see where this is going? It all points back to the black woman and her inability to make sound, logical decisions. But of course, Ms. Karazin won't talk about that, will she?
He wants to call you fat and ugly and unwanted. He wants to say that you're too black and nappy-headed to be beautiful. You must be all those things. Because if you weren't, maybe his father would have thought you were worth sticking around for. He wants to say you ain't worth shit, but he can't. So he says it to us. And now that the man boy that you raised has the body of an adult, he has no idea what he wants. He wants to be the man he never saw growing up. And he might as well be the 8 years old trying on his grandfather's old suit. He is not equipped. He expresses his manhood in the basest and most primal way, out of instinct and desire for dominance. He will have Herculean expectations of you as a partner. You must work full time, come home, clean and cook, fuck him like a porn star at 3 a.m, support him in every decision he makes, no matter how idiotic, tolerate gross disrespect. To be a man is to pump and dump the worthless and lovable and ugly black woman he despises. And if he leaves a few babies on his wake, so what? He'll make claims that he'll be around for the child, but that bitch ain't gonna get his money. Oh no. He may even be there for the birth of the child and bring you, the grandmother, along to fawn. But within 5 years, he'll be gone. And maybe show up for sporadic weekends and day trips to Disneyland. But he'll leave you to do all the heavy lifting. And that son you raise will grow up to hate you and us too.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think I need to go further than this, mainly because I don't want this woman coming back saying I stole the majority of the material, despite the fact that overwhelmingly this material at a 3 or even 5-to-1 ratio has been my input. But let me just go on to say this and wind this shit down. This example she just gave is the prime reason the last 7 minutes you heard me speak is what I spoke about. So let me break this down and unpack it. See, the thing is, number one, Ms. Karazin, the reason why this base male does the things that he does is because the black woman in society gravitates to that primal need for dominance, this primal urge, the base lower nature that is humanity, the savagery of our animal instincts. In other words, Miss Harrison, the Afro-American Negro female, she generally tends to gravitate towards the male who gets a lot of pussy, who is easily manipulated and can be controlled. Because as long as she does all the things that she thinks she ought to do, plus can assert the fact that she is the head of the household and the breadwinner, she can control this Negro. This is what you're not saying. You raised the point about how she should support him in any of his decisions, however idiotic, because that's the way things ought to be. Generally, when a man is the head of the household, a woman should be supporting that man in his decisions. That is the way it has been in society, regardless of race, for countless millennia. She cooks, she cleans, yes, because generally, if a man is going out there and earning the bread and butter, then she ought to do these things. Mainly because he's paying the majority of the bills. That's called quid pro quo. Now, of course, you have exceptions to the rule, and I will be fair in saying this. If the woman goes out and earns that bread and butter, and the dude is home all day, then of course he should cook, and of course he should clean. Now, people like fucking, so I'm sorry. If you have a problem with being rolled over in the middle of the night and catching dick, you got the wrong nigga to be laying up with. Point blank, period. Because I myself, as a married man of 5 years, if the middle of the night my wife is poking her ass out at me, I'm fucking. That's just the way it is. I can give a shit if I gotta put my kid, if he climbed in the bed with me, I'm putting his little ass out and I'm getting it in. That's just how it works. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna apologize for that. And I don't expect any man to apologize for it either. But the thing is, and I think you're missing this, is that generally, Ms. Karazin, the reason why this male exists is because one, women, their mothers, have created him, and two, everyday black females have a demand for this kind of Negro. So is it any surprise why this woman is ending up in the circumstances she's in? Of course not, because it's about choice and decisions. And what you're doing, ironically, is that although you say you're infantilizing the audience or your detractors, what you're really doing is infantilizing your supporters because you're telling them they don't have to be accountable, at least in this video that you put up, for what they've actually done. Now, if you want these women to start taking better responsibility for their wombs, the very first thing you ought to make them aware of is that they are responsible by and large for the very things that they have done in the community. So if they're fucking Pookie, Ray Ray, Durcell, and Man Man and producing babies for them for which they have no father, whose fault is it? The man that they fucked or theirs? Because last I checked, a woman can decide when she's going to get pregnant. No man has that right to decide that for her. So if she's choosing to get pregnant by these dudes, then logically we must follow it's something to the conclusion of it is there for her fault because the onus of the choice is on her. But Ms. Karazin, why won't you talk about that? I really want to know. Why can't you talk about it? It boggles the mind. And you'll go on to talk about how he may even show up for the kid and he may stick around and give a bunch of promises that he doesn't keep. Well, let's be real, Ms. Karazin. You have to look on the flip side. There are women who will say in the heat of an argument, oh, the child is not yours. Do you really expect a man, once he's been told this baby is possibly not yours, to stick around? Then again, Ms. Karazin, you are also the example, a textbook example of that, of black female fuckery. For several reasons. If I recall, you allowed another man, and I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, nor trying to weaponize this here, but I'm just speaking for what I understand. You had a husband who took care of his own children, but for some reason, you didn't allow him to enfold the child that you had in the previous relationship. Now, I'm going to say this. As a man, if I come into a relationship with a female who has children, naturally those children become my children, because if me and her are involved seriously, the welfare of her children should naturally concern me. And it would raise a red flag to me for any reason a woman would get in the way of that. Just as much as it was a raise a red flag if she tried to push that too soon. Now, in context here, when you mentioned earlier about that influence, you said at 15, why would you wait that long to put a male influence for that child? By that point, he is set in his way. See, Ms. Karazin, I'm saying all this because everything is concentric upon the idea that if a woman in general, but black women in particular, make the poor choice for mating and select for males based on sexual prowess and physical appearance, then she has to now accept the consequences of that choice when she has male offspring. Just as much as she would for female offspring. I would probably say more for male offspring because he must now go out and select a mate for himself. And if by chance you have propagated dysfunction onto this child, you will fuck up another female by proxy. So you do your sisters a disservice by making these poor decisions. And by not telling your sisters that you need to make this decision, you need to be very selective. You need to demand something before you get pregnant. Not have a committed relationship, get married. Now, I'll be charitable and let's say that you actually have. Well, in this article, you certainly didn't. So I'm going to treat it for the purpose of this article, you're not advocating it. Whether you've advocated that before that time or since. But for the sake of this argument, right now, in this video, you haven't. And I wonder why that is. In short, Ms. Karazin, I find you laughable. What you're attempting to do in this video is pass the buck. You want to put the onus on the men because you think women can do no wrong. And I say you think that because in spite of the fact that you try to nuance that, yeah, women are responsible, you have not hammered home the fact that women need to make the better decisions, not only for themselves, but for their children. And it's disgusting to me. Now, in fairness, men do have a very significant part to play in all this. But generally, when these men are growing up in single mother homes, where does he get this behavior, I wonder? Well, the truth shouldn't surprise you, should it? Of course not. So, Ms. Karazin, at the end of this video of what will be known forever after as the Christelyn Karazin Week, I challenge you, honestly, I challenge you to go against the grain and call out the sisters for the shit that they've done. And what you'll find is that when you remove your personal biases and look at facts objectively, you will understand that despite the fact that some of these men speak harshly and even cruelly, I might add, there is some basis in their complaints. And there is some basis in the facts that are being reported. And just because you don't like how it makes you feel doesn't change the fact that it is the truth. So come into this channel, Ms. Karazin, to see this video. When you come looking for those change and solutions, just remember that change starts with one. I'm out.